Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So I've been on the hunt recently looking for a monitor that's portable, daylight viewable and budget friendly without compromising on features, something that works just as well in the studio here as it does in harsh outdoor light. I needed it to be able to pair nicely with my Blackmagic Pyxis 6K but also be flexible enough to use with my Sony a7 IV or my Lumix S1R Mark II, and I think I finally found it. This is the Feelworld H5, a 5.5-inch touchscreen monitor that offers 1200 nits of brightness, full-size 12G SDI in and out, HDMI support, 3D LUTS capabilities, HDR monitoring, and even a built-in fan cooling system. So first, let me explain why I even went looking for a monitor like this in the first place. I've been using the Blackmagic Video Assist 12G for a while now, and it's definitely a solid monitor. It records in high quality formats, handles RAW, has a bright screen, and is feature rich. But the issue for me has always been the weight, power consumption, and that tiny micro SD input. Anyone who's rigged up a camera system using micro SDI knows what a pain that can be. Not only are the cables more fragile, but finding quality micro to full-size SDI cables isn't always easy, especially in a pinch. So I went looking for something with full-size SDI that was still bright enough to use in daylight, wouldn't weigh my rig down, and wouldn't drain batteries quickly. Out of the box, the Feelworld H5 already makes a great impression. The monitor is made out of CNC aluminum housing, so it feels sturdy, premium, and definitely professional. It doesn't feel like a cheap piece of plastic gear that you're afraid to throw in the bag. You've got mounting threads on three sides of the monitor, left, right, and bottom, which is super helpful depending on how you'd like to rig your setup. Whether you're running on a gimbal, top handle, or full cage, you've got mounting flexibility. The screen itself is sharp and responsive. It's a 5.5-inch IPS touchscreen with a 1920 by 1080p resolution, and it uses 10-bit color depth through FRC, supporting over 1 billion colors. This display here is rated at 1200 nits, which I earlier mentioned, and honestly, it looks good even under bright sunlight. I've shot outside midday and the screen remained viewable without needing a sun hood. Huge win there. Around the monitor, you've got well thought out layout. On the top right, there's a scroll knob for navigating the menu quickly and easily, and right to the left of it are 3 customizable function buttons that let you quickly toggle things like false color, focus picking, or waveforms. Depending on your preferred setup, there's also a dedicated power button on the side. On the other side is a 3.5mm headphone jack for audio monitoring, USB-C port at the back, 1 HDMI input and 1 HDMI output. There's also the SDI input, which is 12G, remember, and another SDI output, which is still 12G. And just below the SDI input and output, you have a DC 12 volt input, and definitely the common Sony NPF battery, so you can install your Sony NPF battery here. You've also got cooling vents on the top and bottom, and a built-in fan with 5 adjustable speed settings. We'll talk more about the fan noise in a bit. So let's talk about features, and there's a lot to unpack here. This monitor is not just about the display. You're getting all the pro monitoring tools you'd expect: waveform, vector scope, histogram, false color, zebras, and picking focus assist. One really handy feature is the inclusion of both Iris style and standard false color modes. It also has image flip, which I use so many times, and the freeze options. And a great addition for social media creators, you can frame 9:16 vertical while also keeping a reference for standard 16:9 horizontal. That makes this monitor super useful if you're repurposing content across different platforms. For anyone shooting anamorphic, you've got the usual full set of discrete options built in, from 1.33x to 2.0x and more. So if you're using any anamorphic glass, you're covered. On the color side of things, this monitor has been factory calibrated using Calma software according to Feelworld, and it supports both DCI, P3, and Rec. 709 color spaces. This means what you see on the screen is supposed to be accurate enough for real-world monitoring, even on serious projects. And you can easily load your own custom LUTs. The loading process on this monitor is simple. You format your USB stick to FAT32 on Windows or MS-DOS FAT on Mac. Drop in your .cube files, plug it into your USB-C port, go into the system settings under user LUT, and follow the on-screen steps to import. Once done, you can quickly cycle through loaded LUTs depending on what camera you're using, which makes it super easy to match looks on set. Now let's talk about compatibility and switching between HDMI and SDI sources. This is where the H5 really shines. It accepts SD, HD, 3G, 6G and even 12G SDI inputs, as well as HDMI up to 4K 60p. This means I can go from my Pyxis 6K via SDI straight into this monitor and then use HDMI from my Sony a7 IV on my Lumix S1R Mark II without a hitch. In terms of power, the H5 is really efficient. It consumes under 12 watts per hour, which means your batteries will last significantly longer compared to something like the Blackmagic Video Assist. Cooling is handled by an active fan system with 5 speed settings with a mic overhead, Sennheiser MK416. I'll turn this on so you can hear how it sounds. 1 second. So I'll press the power. So I have the Sennheiser MK416 just above from frame. It's common, you should be hearing it by now. It's kind of, the fan has kind of toned down a bit, and I'll double tap to go into the menu system. So I'll double tap to come out, and I'll double tap again to go into the menu system. And if I go to system, I can scroll down to cooling fan, and currently it's on. I can turn it off. I'll switch it back on again. It's on cooling level 1. But if I go through the fan noise test, I'll just turn it off so you can hear how my room sounds. The fan on the key light is currently on, so this is how it sounds without the fan on the monitor. And I'll turn it on, so it's now at cooling level 1. So that's cooling level 1 at this distance. Cooling level 2. So that's cooling level 2. Cooling level 3 now. Cooling level 3. Now cooling level 4, you begin to hear it more. And then the last one, let me switch it. Let's now cooling level 5. For interviews or quiet environments, you can set it to level 1 or even turn it off, but just be aware that the monitor's body does get warm over long shoots without active cooling. So what do I think overall? The Feelworld H5 punches way above its weight. For under $500, you're getting 12G SDI input and output, HDMI 2.0 support, HDR monitoring, professional grade tools, custom LUTs, and a super bright screen that holds up outdoors, all in a rugged body. I wish I had a few things like built-in recording or camera control, but honestly, for my needs, it hits the sweet spot. If you want something cheaper, the Feelworld H5 Pro is worth a look at around $159. It's solid but lacks SDI, something I needed. So if you're building out your rig for the Pyxis, Sony, Lumix, or anything with HDMI or SDI, this is definitely worth checking out. That's it for today's video. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more tech reviews and filmmaking gear breakdowns. Got any questions about external monitors or the Feelworld H5? Drop in the comments below. Until next time, keep shooting, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one. It's your Filmmaker, and as usual, peace.